Hey guys, welcome back to our last video on Nuxt.js with Axios, Vuetify, and Vuex. So if you remember from my last video, by the way, links below to the previous videos, we have created this iTunes search. We can put in a name of an artist, and then we get an output. So it says, basically all we're doing is showing this array on the screen here, and it is an array of different albums. It's coming from the iTunes API. So that was really simple, but we want to make this look a lot nicer. Obviously, we don't want to show all this information here. So how can we do that? So it's pretty easy. So let's delete this output here, and let's just say, because our original, this is what we were going for. And if we put in an artist, this is the completed app. So we put the completed app, we can see it says results for Taylor Swift. So let's change that. We'll go results for, and then we'll be passing that in there. And then this is kind of a nice little box layout, and this is a part of Vuetify, and they have something called cards. And you can see here, this is a component called card. If you go to vuetifyjs.com, you can see /component/cards, the different card layout. And this is what we're looking for. So we're going to have these nice little square cards with the name of the artist, the album, and a little picture art, and this is called a VCard. And if you look at the source code for it, we have this card here, we have this VFlex, we have this VCard, and then we also have a VCard media. So we're going to copy and paste that in a second so that way we can get started. But first, let's do just a little niceness here. Let's just make sure that if you put something in that returns nothing, like so if we put in a long string here, it just has an empty set, that it displays correctly. So we can do div and then a vif, and we can make it so if album data dot length is greater than 0. Now I'll show you one way to do this, and then we'll do it another way. So if we do it like this and then we put in a really long string, you see now we just show nothing here. This is actually, doing it inline here works, but another way you can do it, maybe a little bit nicer, is instead of using this vif directive right inside your template, is we can create a computed property. So right at the bottom here, we're going to create something called computed. This is just normal Vue.js stuff. We're going to call it album exists, and then we're just going to return if this dot album data dot length is greater than 0. And then instead of using album, putting the actual whole expression inside here, we can just do album exists, so it matches down here. So let's try that instead. If we save it, it's going to get reloaded. And then we put in a really long string, does the same thing. And then we can be a little bit nicer. We can also do div velse, and then we can put just an output it here, like does not exist. Could not, or we put in like could not find album. You can see right here, could not find album. So now if we put in some like random gibberish and couldn't find it, now we say could not find album. So it's a little bit nicer. But we still have a problem if we put in an album it does find. Yeah, we just get this big collection of stuff. So let's go ahead and create a new component. We'll go to new file, and let's call it card.view. And inside this card view file, we're going to, remember each one has to have a template. And then we can also add a script tag here, and then just so we know what we're doing, export default. This is where we put in our actual Vue.js code. So, but inside our template, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of copy and paste some stuff. So if we go back to our Vuetify, there's this huge, I went ahead and just did it already here. I just copied one of these ones here. So I'm going to copy this. And, well, actually, before we do that, if we look at the top here, there is a div tag. So remember, we always have to surround our templates with an opening closing div tag of some kind. So well, let's do this. We'll do ID equals E3, and I'm just copying what I'm seeing here, and the style equals max width 400 pixels, margin auto, and then class equals gray lighten 3. And then we're going to use a container. So we don't care about the toolbar. We're going to skip that. We're going to look here at the container. So we're going to do v container. And then inside our container, we're going to have fluid, a style equals min height 0, and a grid list large. So this is just defining kind of the how we're going to do this card here. And so we could put that over. And then inside the container, we're going to have a v layout row wrap. Okay. So we've kind of copied and pasted some of the stuff from here. And now we're going to grab this one because this is one of the cards. I'm going to copy it. And we're going to put it right after the layout here. Oops. Let me make sure I get this right. And we'll highlight this. And we'll now paste what we have. I'll copy it. I'll paste it. All right. So here's our flex. And here is our card here. So let's just see if we can make this show up. It obviously doesn't have any of the data we need, but let's see if it'll work. So I'm going to save it here. And now we can import this component we just created called card.view into our results set here. So we'll need to add in something called components. And then inside components, we'll just list all our components. We'll call it card. And then, well, just like we did here, where we imported in, actually we haven't imported in any other component yet. Actually, yeah, we haven't. Well, we did with the toolbar, and that was inside the default layout. See, we imported it like this. So we're going to do the same thing, but this time with the card. So we're going to go up here. Instead of doing toolbar, we're going to do card. And we're going to call it card.view. So, and then we define the component here, card. So let's put it right here. And if we save it, okay, so you can see here, halcyon days, looks like our card looks okay. We don't actually getting a 404 because the picture it was trying to look for isn't there, of course. All right, so we have our card in, but we need to pass in some data to it. So how do we do that? So remember, we have something called props, and that's how we pass data between different components in our app. So let's define the props. So we'll need to pass in, and we'll go back to export default. And the way we do that, we do props here, and it's just in an array. So we're going to pass in the title, the image, the artist name. We're going to pass in the URL and color. And I'll show you a little trick with the color in a second. So let's add all these in here. So first we want to do the title. Well, let's go up to the top. So we have this color equal purple. So instead of that, we can use our passed in color. So the way we do that is you would use a v on directive, but we can actually just put a colon here for shorthand and put color, and we're going to have it equal color. That's the passed in color. We also want this to be, we want anyone to click on any of the cards and have it to be a link. So we want to first, we'll put target equals blank underscore blank, so it opens up in a new window. And then we'll have href equals here URL. So now we know that this href will be attached to this card. And you're probably wondering, well, how do you know that you can add an href to a vCard? Well, if you go back to the official documentations and you look all the way down, it gives you the API right here, and you can see that href string object for router, this is available inside the vCard, so you're okay for adding it in there. So we have the URL, we have the color. Now for the headline, this is going to be the title. So we'll put just title here. That's just directly from the prop. And then the artist name, we're going to change it here to artist name. And then down here, instead of having this static image that we haven't created, we're going to pass in the source, which is an image. And just the heck of it, I'm going to change the height to 100. And that should do it. So now we're going to go back into our ID, and we just need to pass all the values in. So I have this card here. It's really simple. So instead, first, we want to display it only if it exists. So we'll put it here instead. And we can actually, if we want, we can have it self-closing. So we can do something like this. And we'll put in right here. So now we don't, this album data object, we haven't really looked at it yet. But it is a array. We saw right here that we have an array here. And we also saw that it has a lot of different things like collection type, collection ID, collection name. So first off, what we need to do is we need to iterate through it. So we're going to create a div tag here, and there's something called v4, which is the way we iterate. And then we can actually get the album. This is going to be, and the index in album data. So what this is telling us is that each individual part of the array is going to be an album, but we can also get the index. And the index is going to be important because we're going to use it to do all alternating colors. So now we have this. And now we can start passing some of that into our card. So we can actually put lowercase or uppercase, but we'll do uppercase here, uppercase. And we're going to have it self-closing. We can do that since we're using view files. .view. We're going to put a title, and that's going to equal album.collection sensor name, and you can find that out. It's right here. So that's where I'm getting it from. So we're going to have an image, and that's going to be equal album.artwork URL and 100. There's actually a couple of them. There's art URL 60. And then there's also 100, so we'll put in 100 right now. And now we'll put in artist name, and that's going to be album.artist name. And then we need URL. This is album.artist view URL. And then finally color, which will equal, we'll get to that in a second. So we'll just put in there blue. But we'll show a way we can kind of alternate that. And we'll delete this. So let's save it and see what happens. Alright, so you can see here we have an error. Blue is not defined in the instance but referenced during the render. Make sure to declare reactive data property in the data found. We can see it definitely switched it to the album. So we're seeing the album. We have the links. So what we want to do here to pick the color is we're going to create something called picker. and we're going to pass in the index to it. So let's go back down to where our computed properties are. And actually, we won't use a computed property because you can't pass anything into it. So we're going to create something called methods. And then inside our methods, we're going to create this picker. It's going to take in the index. And then we're just going to do some really simple, we're just going to return index mod2 equals 0, and then we're going to return red, otherwise we're going to return blue. So in other words, all we're doing here is every other one we're just switching from red to blue. So let's save it. And we got an error because I forgot to put a comma. So right here, we make sure we gotta put a comma, we save it. Okay, great. You can see here, you can see red, blue, red, blue. Let's go back and start, and let's put in a name like Jack Johnson. And we'll hit enter. Yep, and here you can see it. We can see the artwork, we see the name of the album, the artist name. If you click on it, it opens up a new window. So that is pretty much it. So now we have created an easy way of searching iTunes. We have alternating colors. If we put in an artist name that doesn't exist, we say could not find album. So there it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It's just really simple and easy of how to create a real quick iTunes search engine. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below and let me know. And thanks. I'll probably be doing more of these in the future. Thanks.